But first, remembering a former Connecticut political icon who made a big impact in our state and across the country.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us here for the News at 5. I'm Keisha Grant.
And I'm Mike Heideck. Tonight, our top story tributes continue to pour in for former U.S. Senator Joe Lieberman, who died yesterday at the age of 82.
Joe Lieberman's political career began in 1970 in the state Senate. He went on to become Connecticut's Attorney General in 1983, a position he held for 6 years before defeating incumbent Lowell Weicker to become a U.S. Senator. Colleagues remember Lieberman as always looking to build bipartisan support, something that helped him become the Democratic nominee for vice president in 2000 alongside Al Gore. But some of his views, especially his stance on the Iraq War, frustrated members of his own party. Lieberman lost the Democratic nomination to Ned Lamont in 2006, but won a fourth term in the Senate as an independent. A former advisor says Lieberman never thought about changing his stance, even to win an election.
One of my favorite things about Senator Lieberman was he was the same man behind closed doors and in private as he was in public.
He was in that peculiar group of people who were not on the edge of partisan politics, but rather moved toward the middle.
And Senator Lieberman certainly left a lasting impact on politics here in Connecticut and across the nation. But as we all know, politics is a tough business, and along the way, things can get pretty heated, especially on the campaign trail, as Governor Lamont found out when he faced off against Senator Lieberman in 2006 when he challenged him for his Senate seat. If you were to see some of the comments about Joe Lieberman in the press, or if you watch some of his old interviews, you would see that he's a very methodical, low-key communicator. Some people would even call him sleepy in some reports. Were you surprised back in 2006 when the two of you debated for the primary for U.S. Senate that he came out in such a hard-charging fashion? A lot of people say that, wow, that's a different Joe Lieberman when he faced off against you.
Well, he wasn't sleepy, that's for sure. Yeah, everybody says, how'd you get to know Joe Lieberman? Ours was an inauspicious start when I was the former third selectman in my hometown challenging a former candidate for vice president. But you know what? We had a pretty feisty campaign, as you point out. When it was over, we shook hands.
Did his independent run surprise you after your debate and you beat him in the primary, that he registered, got the signatures, and ran as an independent? What were your feelings when that happened?
I kind of wish he hadn't done that. My life would have been quite different. But look, in his defense, he said, if I don't win as a Democrat, I'm going to run as an independent. He told that to the people of Connecticut, and he ran as an independent, and he won fair and square.
NBC Connecticut did an interview just as he was about to retire from the Senate. One of the things Joe Lieberman said was, I'd like to be remembered as a bipartisan. I would like to show that I lived that way and was able to accomplish things that way. Are there people here in Connecticut and maybe in Washington too that you can say have that wherewithal to try to act like that, to try to be bipartisan and have it not be a dirty word anymore? Do you work with people here in Connecticut like that? And do you
I think very much so, yeah, here. But let me just say one thing. People play act in front of the TV cameras. In the cloakroom in Washington, and certainly in this office right here, we all work together pretty well. And maybe there's a little bit of performance when you're on the TV cameras, but people are actually better than they seem on TV sometimes. And I'd like to think there's some of that down in Washington, but I don't see much evidence of it right now.
Political leaders, however, from across the country and here in Connecticut are preparing for Joe Lieberman's funeral tomorrow. It is set for 10:30 in the morning at Congregation Aguda Shalom along Stanford Strawberry Hill Avenue.
And we will bring you his funeral live here on NBC Connecticut, as well as on our streaming platforms. Our coverage begins at 10:15 tomorrow morning. You can also head to our website, NBCConnecticut.com, and our app for continuing coverage.